At dinner, I discovered an incredible truth: how a laughing son-in-law exposed my hidden strength. The clock ticked ominously to 6. In the cozy, dim light of his garage, Hank wiped grease from his hands, but his heart raced. Tonight was no ordinary Sunday. His daughter Sarah and her fiancé Derek were joining for dinner. He felt that familiar knot of anxiety tighten in his chest. Derek, with his flashy suits and polished charm, was everything Hank feared he wasn't: confident, wealthy, ambitious. As he set the table, deep breaths were his only solace. The family gathered, the air thick with warmth and rich aromas, but beneath it lay an undercurrent of tension. As they sat around the dinner table, a gentle clinking of plates echoed like a prelude to the uneasy conversation that loomed ahead. Stories began to flow, light ones at first, and laughter burst forth. Yet, with every crackle of delight, Hank felt the silent war brewing within him. Derek, ever the sharp-tongued city slicker, nudged at Hank's humble lifestyle with veiled jabs. "So, Hank, when was the last time you got a promotion?" he quipped, laughter bubbling up from Sarah and her mother. Hank's heart thundered. He felt exposed, like a car on jacks with its guts on display. "Well, Derek, I've been building this garage into something meaningful for over 30 years, he shot back, his voice steadier than he felt. His words filled the room, momentarily halting laughter. Was he defending himself or demanding respect? The stakes felt impossibly high. Just when the atmosphere thickened, Derek broke through like a sputtering spark. "You want to hear something funny?" he started, voice lightening, the snark replaced with sincerity. He shared a tale from his childhood about the skateboard mishap that sent him to the hospital, how he learned resilience from picking himself back up. Laughter erupted again, filling the spaces between them with warmth. For a moment, Hank felt the pressure release, twinges of understanding weaving bonds that seemed lost. With every shared giggle, the invisible barrier cracked further. Hank found himself laughing too, but it wasn't just Derek's humor, it was a flicker of hope ignited within his own heart. "You know, Sarah's been my greatest ride," he confessed, looking over at his daughter, who beamed with pride. "After coming home from the service, every change I've made was about being a father, getting through the long, hard nights just to see her smile." His voice wavered but held strength. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. The laughter softened, each person feeling the weight of shared stories. Yet Hank's heart raced in a different rhythm, fueled by relentless determination. When he looked at Derek again, he saw more than a man of privilege. He saw someone who might flourish under the same grueling conditions he had endured. Summoning every ounce of courage, Hank addressed the judgments he felt Derek harbored. "It's easy to judge, Derek, but every mark on my hands tells a story you don't know." The air crackled with tension, Derek's expression faltering. Hank held his breath, a fragile moment suspended. Could they truly uncover one another in this tangled web of privilege and humility? Each man, standing at the brink of an understanding that glimmered like sunlight through dark clouds, faced a choice. The dinner table turned into a battleground for respect and acceptance, where love hung incognito, waiting to be discovered. The question lingered, heavy and palpable: would they emerge from this evening transformed, or simply more divided? The silence felt electric, hanging in the air as both men locked eyes. Hank's heart pounded in his chest, and he could see the flicker of contemplation cross Derek's face. In that vulnerable moment, nothing else existed, just their shared experience, their battle for understanding. Derek cleared his throat, the humor fading from his features, replaced by a weight Hank recognized too well. "I didn't mean to put you on the spot, Hank," he said slowly. "Honestly, I only wanted to make a connection." Hank's breath hitched, battling a growing sense of empathy. It wasn't the bravado of wealth that haunted Derek, it was the pressure to measure up, just like Hank had felt over all those years, working tirelessly to create a life for Sarah. With a nod, Hank softened his stance. "I get it, kid. We all have our battles. Sometimes the hardest ones are the silent ones. At that, Sarah chimed in, her eyes bright with admiration. Dad, you always taught me that strength isn't just about showing off what you've accomplished. It's about knowing where you came from and using that to drive you forward. Her voice cut through the tension, bringing warmth back into the room like the late sun breaking through clouds. Hank felt a swell of pride, not just for her words but for the connection that was forming. The walls around the table felt a little lower, a little less intimidating. Derek smiled, genuinely now, a glimmer of respect replacing his earlier arrogance. That's something we should all keep in mind. Sometimes, I think I forget that it's not just about the finish line. Sarah beamed at her fiancé, her heart lifting with each shared sentiment. The conversation shifted, new stories emerged, and laughter bubbled up again like fresh spring water. Hank found himself more engaged, feeling the ease of Derek's presence. He listened closely as Derek shared another anecdote, this one about a coworker's relentless quest for an elusive promotion. The pain and effort Derek put into his story resonated with Hank's own experiences, and he unexpectedly saw reflections of himself in this man who once seemed so unapproachable. As the meal wound down, Hank began to feel that they might actually be building a bridge, one paved with mutual respect and understanding. But just as the tension eased, Derek leaned back in his chair, the playful smirk returning. So, Hank, what's your secret to not getting burned out? You've been at this garage game forever. With a glance at Sarah, a chuckle escaped Hank's chest. You really want to know? It's a big old secret, pay attention to the little things. He looked at the plates still filled, mixing the remnants of their meal as if they were pieces of their lives intertwining. It's not the big promotions or shining awards. It's about finding joy in the daily grind. Each word felt liberating. Hank could see Derek shift, a crack of realization gleaming in his eyes. Perhaps the city slicker needed this small-town wisdom more than he let on. The conversation took on a life of its own thereafter, but lingering in the air was an unspoken promise. Hank felt a tether to Derek forming, stronger than he thought possible. Yet as the laughter faded, another weight rested heavily in the room, a question he couldn't voice. Would this newfound connection endure beyond the dinner table, or was it doomed to fade under the pressures of their separate worlds? As the evening wound down, Hank gathered leftover plates, but a hint of uncertainty remained. What would tomorrow bring? Would they follow through and keep this connection alive? Would Derek and Hank's perspectives continue to shift and expand, shaping their families in ways they hadn't imagined? The question hung in the air as they moved toward the living room, the warmth of dinner still lingering but the night meticulously beckoning the truth of tomorrow. The living room felt cozy, the soft glow of the lamps enveloping them in a warm embrace. Hank stacked the plates and moved to the sink, the clatter of ceramic breaking the lingering silence. Sarah and Derek crowded on the couch, their laughter echoing like a soothing melody, and Hank couldn't help but steal glances back at them. They looked so perfect together. He felt a surge of emotion well up inside him. He took a deep breath, scrubbing the dishes with a little more intensity than necessary. Hey, Derek, he yelled over his shoulder, choosing every word carefully. What do you think you'll do with this new perspective you're getting tonight? Derek paused, seemingly caught off guard by the question. After a moment, he replied, I don't know, Hank. Maybe take a second look at my priorities? See how my work fits around my life instead of the other way around. There was something genuine in his voice and honesty that Hank hadn't heard before. He looked up, trying to gauge if Derek truly understood the implications of his own words. Instead, he found Sarah gazing at him, pride shimmering in her eyes. The sight filled Hank with a mixture of relief and hope. Maybe, Hank said, you could try to find ways to speak up and share your own story at work. People tend to respect honesty. Yeah, like you did tonight, Derek said, his tone appreciative. You shared something real. That's harder than it seems. Hank chuckled, wiping his hands on a dish towel. Believe me, it's easier to hide behind jokes than let the truth come out. Suddenly, an unexpected pang of vulnerability swept through him. He set the towel down and turned to face them, leaning against the sink, arms crossed. It's funny. I've spent years just making it through each day, putting one foot in front of the other. I guess I never really stopped to realize how much I've brushed off those little things. Those moments that matter. Both Derek and Sarah watched him intently, like he was finally peeling back the layers he'd kept tightly bound for so long. The connection among the three of them sparked with an electric intensity. "Dad," Sarah said softly, "you've always taught me to appreciate the journey, but sometimes we forget what's important in the little moments. We put our heads down and miss all the beauty." Hank nodded, feeling the weight of her words. "Yeah, I think I do forget. But what does that even look like? Finding joy in the routine?" Derek leaned forward, his brows knitted together. "It might not be all about the grind. Maybe it's just about being present, you know? Taking a moment to breathe and appreciate everyday life." There was a quiet pause in the room as they all reflected. A smile crept onto Hank's face, a realization dawning on him. This conversation, this moment, wasn't just a fleeting occurrence. It felt significant, but then, just as the warmth of their collective understanding wrapped around them, Sarah's phone buzzed on the coffee table, shattering the bubble they had formed. She reached for it, her brows furrowing as she read the message. "It's from Mom," she said, her voice suddenly tense. "She wants to talk about the wedding details, but she's also mentioned something about a family meeting." Hank's stomach dropped. A family meeting? There was something about that phrase that usually signaled trouble. Derek shifted in his seat, glancing at Hank with a mix of concern and curiosity. "Any idea what this is about?" Derek asked, leaning back as if preparing for the uncertainties of the conversation ahead. Hank's heart raced, the comfort of the evening fading as new worries crept in. Was this what they needed now, just as they were starting to connect? What could possibly come from a family meeting that might disrupt the fragile bonds they were forming? Sarah looked worried, clearly feeling the weight of the situation as well. The warm atmosphere from moments before slipped away, replaced by a hint of apprehension. Hank could almost hear the shadows appearing in the corners of the room. "Whatever it is," he finally said, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside him, "I know we'll face it together." But as Sarah nodded, the uncertainty of what lay ahead cast a long shadow over them. What could be waiting for them in that family meeting, and how strong would their newfound connection hold against it? Each moment felt chalked with potential, tipping toward the unknown. The air in the room had shifted, thick with tension and hesitation. Hank looked over at Sarah, who was still holding her phone, her fingers anxiously drumming against the screen. He remembered all the family meetings that stirred such unease, each one marking moments of change, of decisions laid bare, often heavier than expected. "Maybe it's not that big of a deal," Derek suggested, attempting to project confidence into the atmosphere. "It could just be about the wedding, right? Mom might have questions about the venue or the guest list." "Yeah, but it's Mom," Sarah said, her voice trailing off. "You know she has a knack for making things more complicated than they need to be. The last family meeting didn't go so well. I just wish we could enjoy tonight without worrying about whatever she wants to discuss." Hank's heart sank a bit at her words. He knew too well what Sarah was talking about. Family meetings had a tendency to reveal not just problems, but disagreements, hurt feelings, and things unsaid. Was tonight's connection between them strong enough to withstand whatever their mother wanted to unearth? Then he felt a flicker of determination ignite within him. "Okay, just let me think for a second," Hank said, pacing a little, trying to shake off the anxiety settling like a dark cloud. Tonight was supposed to be about celebrating, and it might not hurt to approach this meeting differently. Maybe we need to set the tone ourselves. Derek straightened up, leaning forward in agreement. "Yeah. We could frame it as a chance to come together, instead of a warning bell for bad news. Let us be ready for anything. That means stepping up our game. Support each other." Surrounded by laughter and love just moments ago, Hank felt a smile creeping onto his face again, and he could see Sarah and Derek's expressions lightening a little. What if we just promise to stay honest, whatever comes? We're not the kids anymore, we can handle it. Right. Sarah perked up, a hint of her earlier enthusiasm returning. Let us just be real about it. If it turns into a heavy discussion, we'll figure it out together. Derek shot her a grin. Exactly. And hey, laughter can cut through tension like nothing else. If things get rough, we can always share a joke or two. Just then, Hank's phone buzzed. He glanced down at the screen, noticing it was a message from his mother. She wants to know if we can all meet at the diner instead of here, he announced, feeling equal parts relieved and anxious. A public space might soften the impact of whatever words needed saying, but would it also dilute the intimacy they'd just formed? Not again, Sarah groaned. The diner? That's where she drops all the big news, isn't it? Hank forced himself to chuckle, shaking his head. I guess it means we won't get too cozy. We might even have better can't put it off any longer vibes over coffee and fries. Maybe, Derek added with a wink, we should put that on a poster. Coffee gives courage. Laughter erupted, washing the tension away momentarily. Hank felt the warmth of that bond encircle them again, and he held on to that feeling more tightly than before. As they gathered their things, Hank couldn't shake the feeling that the evening was about to take a turn he never anticipated. What awaited them at the diner? The thought buzzed in his mind, stirring a mix of curiosity and dread. Whatever happens, just remember. We've got each other, he reminded them, standing by the door. Yeah, and if it's terrible, we can always complain over dessert, Sarah replied, grinning, but like a whisper in the retreating light, Hank wondered what central truth lay behind the invitation for a family meeting that would shape their evening, and perhaps their future. As they stepped into the diner, the familiar smell of fried food and freshly brewed coffee wrapped around Hank like a warm blanket. The neon lights cast a funky glow, and retro music played softly in the background, a comforting reminder of countless evenings spent here, often spilling secrets over milkshakes. He caught Sarah's eye, and she gave him a reassuring nod, but even the comforting ambience couldn't chase away the gnawing uncertainty. They slid into a booth, the full leather seats creaking under the weight of their collective tension. It wasn't long before their mother, with her signature blonde bob and floral dress, arrived. She entered with an air of cheerful determination, her hands clutching a stack of papers, which set off alarm bells in Hank's mind. Hi, everyone. She chirped, sitting down with a bright smile that contrasted sharply with the anxiety swelling in Hank's chest. She didn't even take a moment to sip her coffee before diving in. I'm so glad we could meet. There's something important we need to discuss tonight. Hank watched as Derek clenched his jaw slightly and Sarah picked at the corner of the sugar packet. The usual diner chatter faded to a dull murmur, their focus narrowing solely on their mother. Now, don't look so worried. I promise I'm not here to cause panic. She chuckled, attempting to break the ice, but the humor felt forced. This is actually exciting news. What is it, Mom? Sarah inquired, her voice tinged with both hope and apprehension. I've been considering a change, a big one, and I need you all on board with it. She paused, glancing between them, and Hank felt his heart beat faster. A change? Derek echoed, uncertainty lacing his voice. What kind of change? I'm thinking of moving. Just a few hours away, and well, it will allow me to focus on my passion for art. I want to open my own gallery. The room fell silent as the weight of the announcement sank in. Hank felt Sarah stiffen beside him, her fork clattering to the plate. Moving? Mom, have you even thought this through? She asked, voice rising in disbelief. What about everything here? You can't just pick up and leave. Their mother's expression shifted, disappointment flickering. I know it sounds impulsive, but this isn't just a whim. I've been planning it for months. I want to pursue something for myself. Her voice softened, revealing vulnerability beneath the authoritative tone. Caught in the whirlwind of emotions, Hank felt as if he were spiraling. Part of him wanted to scream, urge her to reconsider, while another piece wrestled with pride, seeing her courage etched into every word. What about us? He heard himself ask, the question slipping out before he could catch it. I thought you'd all understand, she replied, her gaze shimmering with a mix of hope and sadness. I've been a mother for years, and I still want to be a whole person. Derek stirred slightly, leaning forward. We get it, Mom, we just didn't see this coming. You make it sound so easy. Sarah's expression softened as she looked at their mother anew. You want to be happy, right? But I worry this all feels sudden. We need to talk about it, really talk. It affects all of us. As Hank wrestled with his emotions, he watched Derek reach for their mother's hand, a gesture of support that echoed in the booth. Memory and pride mingled together, and he realized they had all been wearing their feelings like armor. Maybe this was the conversation they needed, one that could stitch old wounds and offer something deeper. Mom, he started, his voice steadying, what if we helped you, instead of just reacting? If you're moving, let us be part of this journey. As a smile crept onto her face, Hank felt the initial tension slowly morphing into hope. The laughter, the shared moments, they could still thrive amidst change. Maybe this revelation could bind them even closer. Just as the waitress approached to take their orders, Hank's phone buzzed, revealing a new message, a reminder of their own wedding plans. The realization washed over him. And while we're at it, we need to talk about weddings. Too, he grinned, his heart hopeful. The table erupted in chuckles, but deep inside, Hank felt the weight of the moment settling. What other truths lay ahead, waiting to unravel in the shadows? The diner buzzed around them, the clattering of dishes and lively chatter forming a backdrop to the budding conversation at their table. Hank caught a glimpse of the waitress pouring coffee for an elderly couple in the corner. She smiled, her laughter infectious, a stark contrast to the serious discussion unfolding in their booth. Okay, so weddings, Sarah began, rolling her eyes playfully. With Mom moving and everything, I feel like our plans just got a lot more complicated. Their mother leaned back, crossing her arms playfully. I'm still your mom, you know. Even if I'm a little farther away, I can still help. What's the latest with that venue? Hank smiled, relieved at the momentary diversion. The Maple Grove place, should we book it? Yes. It's beautiful, Sarah replied, her enthusiasm returning. We can have the ceremony outside, with those string lights. And Mom, you can help me pick out flowers from afar. See? We can make this work. Their mother's eyes lit up with excitement, igniting a spark of joy in Hank too. It felt good, this lightness momentarily overshadowing heavier thoughts. But as they began discussing linen colors and flower arrangements, Hank felt a nagging feeling in the pit of his stomach. How could he focus on weddings when their family dynamic was shifting? Guys. Before we get too deep into wedding planning, Hank hesitated, glancing around the table. He saw Sarah's and Derek's expressions shift as he continued, I feel like we should talk about how all this affects us. His tone caught their attention, and the smile faded slightly from their mother's face. Of course, sweetheart. What's on your mind? Hank took a deep breath, casting his gaze down to the table. I just don't want you to feel like you're abandoning us, Mom. This move, it's huge. It changes everything. His mother looked down, swirling her coffee while absorbing his words. Derek chimed in, we just need to understand how you feel about all this. We're used to having you close by. Mom nodded slowly, a flicker of uncertainty crossing her features. Believe me, I'm not running away from you. I want this for me, but I want you all to be part of it too. The air turned heavy as Hank processed this. Despite the laughter just moments ago, this weight hung between them, a silent understanding shifting through the booth. It was a reminder that every joy came with its challenges, and every step forward also asked them to let go. What if you hate it and want to come back? Sarah asked, a hint of concern lacing her words. What if this changes everything we know? Their mother looked each of them in the eye, a genuine honesty in her voice. What if it changes everything for the better? What if it brings us all closer despite the distance? That single question echoed in Hank's mind, pulling him into contemplation. He remembered their childhood, how every adventure they took as a family made them stronger, together. Maybe this leap was the next chapter in their shared story, rather than a closing chapter. Trying to find light in the difficult conversation, Hank chuckled nervously. Well, if you need an artist to tend the gallery, maybe I'll have to crash it for free cheese and wine. That cracked a smile on his mom's face, and soon Sarah and Derek joined in the lightness. Laughter bounced around the booth once again, but beneath it all, Hank pondered what this new phase could mean for them. I guess it's all about balance, he mused, glancing around the table. We can celebrate new beginnings while holding on to what we have. As they settled back into warm conversation, Hank felt a tiny flicker of hope. But deeper questions lingered. Could they really create this new family dynamic? Would they be able to navigate the uncertainties ahead? Just then, Hank's phone buzzed again with another reminder, this one for the wedding venue tour. We have to make a choice soon, everyone, he declared, a serious edge creeping back into his voice. Are we ready to embrace all the change coming our way? The mood shifted as they looked at one another, eyes reflecting a mix of determination and uncertainty. Hank realized this wasn't just about weddings or galleries, it was about family and emotional knot they needed to untangle together, and as silence settled, the weight feeling heavier again, the question loomed like a storm cloud over them. What would happen when they finally faced the truth of all the choices laid before them? Hank's phone vibrated again, jarring the silence as a new message lit up the screen. It was an alert about the venue tour, but the words felt more like a summons to face reality. The laughter from moments before now echoed like a distant memory, the weight of unspoken fears settling back into their midst. Let us not rush, Sarah finally broke the tension, her voice soft but steady. Whatever happens, we can do this together. Right? Her question hung in the air, a fragile thread connecting them. Together, their mother repeated, mustering a smile that looked more like an act of courage than genuine cheer. Hank admired her resilience, even if he couldn't shake the feeling that they were all teetering on the edge of something big. Derek glanced around, confirming the mood. Just think about what Mom's facing too. It's a huge step for her. Maybe we can do the same for her as she does for us. Right, Hank agreed, swallowing hard. Boundaries were blurring, and the thought of his mother starting fresh made him proud yet anxious. It's just a lot. Everything changes, he added, needing them to understand. I know. Their mother leaned forward, sincerity pouring from her eyes. But we're all evolving. Just like you, Hank. Your art, your passion, this wedding. It's about creating new memories while honoring the past. Easier said than done, he muttered, though inside he felt a flicker of understanding. They wouldn't lose each other. They were teetering on a tightrope, but there was a net below shaped by love, even if they didn't always see it. Let us set a date for the venue tour, Sarah suggested, pulling out her own calendar. How about next Saturday? The practicality was a soothing balm to his worries. They could focus on the tangible, the flowers, the venue, the food, while processing the emotional upheaval simmering just below the surface. Sounds good, Derek chimed in. A little distraction can help. Plus, we might even have fun picking out details. Fun, yes. Let us create something beautiful. Their mother's eyes glimmered with excitement. Hank sensed her eagerness and wanted to soak it in for what felt like the last time. This version of their family might not stick around forever, but today their laughter felt like a warmth against a chilling uncertainty. As they discussed different colors and themes, Hank glanced outside. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue that wrapped around the diner. It felt like the world was reassuring him that change didn't have to be scary. Maybe Mom's move is a chance for us to explore, Sarah added, her voice growing stronger. We can do things differently, create new traditions. Think about holidays in a new city. We'll visit. Even if it means learning to Zoom for family gatherings, Hank joked, eliciting laughter that made the air feel lighter. But beneath the humor lingered unspoken fears. What if they faced trials that strained their connection? It felt vital to gather as much love and support now, before the world pulled them apart in unexpected ways. As Hank poured his heart into the cheerful conversation, he couldn't help but question how far they could stretch before breaking. Family ties were deep, but could they grow while scattered across the map? Are we ready for this? He asked quietly, eyeing each of them. The question came out more serious than intended, and he could see it struck a chord. Everyone shifted slightly, glancing at one another with a collective uncertainty. And in that moment, Hank realized they weren't just standing on the edge of change, they were staring into the abyss of their future. Each of them held the possibility of what could be of a transformed family that could flourish, but only if they were willing to face the trials ahead. What if we promised to check in, frequently? His mother suggested, her tone surprisingly firm. A family chat every month, maybe? It's a start, Hank agreed, hope threading through his words. But a new unease fluttered deep in his stomach. What lay on the other side of those commitments? Could love truly bridge the distances that were fast approaching? Just then, Hank remembered something from his childhood, a family saying that felt pertinent now, together through thick and thin. But as he looked at them, he knew it would take more than just words to honor that promise. Their laughter bubbled a little longer amidst the crinkled receipts and sticky menus, but a deeper truth loomed ahead, a truth that would reveal the strength they were yet to discover. How would they weather the storms to come? Would they all find their place in this new reality? Hank glanced down at the table, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew one thing for certain: this wasn't over yet. The real journey was just beginning. The following week crept closer, tension tinged with excitement filling the air. Hank tossed and turned every night, consumed by thoughts of the tour. This venue, the wedding, it stood as a symbol of everything they were trying to build, yet it also echoed the fears of everything they might lose. On his way to the diner, he tuned into the radio, music lifting his spirits just enough to mask the weight on his heart. When he arrived, the familiar clatter of dishes and muted conversations wrapped around him like a comforting blanket. He spotted Derek and Sarah already seated, flipping through wedding magazines with enthusiasm, their laughter echoing like the sounds of old memories. "Hey!" Sarah looked up, her smile infectious. "We've been narrowing down flower options. It's so much fun." "Fun and also a little confusing," Derek chimed in, throwing a playful glare at a multiple-choice layout. "Do you know how many shades of pink there are? It's like an entire spectrum of blushing." Hank smiled, relief washing over him as he settled in. Sarah had thrown herself deep into planning, clearly using it as a coping mechanism, and he admired her for it. "I'm glad you two are taking charge. I'll be the artistic guy in the background." "Oh, we'll need you," Sarah said, eyes wide with determination. "Like, what if we do something unique with the flower arrangements? Maybe we can incorporate your art somehow." Before Hank could respond, their mother entered, bright and ready, as if she hadn't a care in the world. She wore her favorite yellow dress, something about its brightness fitting for the occasion. Her presence brought the table to life, banishing the weight that had been lingering just beneath the surface. "Sorry I'm late," she exclaimed, claiming the seat across from them. "Had a long chat with the florist. She's amazing. Just wait until you see her ideas. I can't even keep up with all the possible flower combinations." Hank let out a laugh, reveling in the genuine warmth building around them. "I think we'll just let Sarah have creative control," Derek teased, nudging Sarah lightly. The banter flowed smoothly, but deep inside Hank still sensed a small crack threatening to surface. Each cheerful word felt like a protective layer over their vulnerabilities. What if these vibrant moments masked deeper issues? What if they laughed too hard, pretending everything was truly okay when it wasn't? As they mulled over color palettes and potential flavors for the cake, his mother leaned in closer, her eyes sparkling. "You know, planning a wedding is more than just the day itself. It's about uniting families. A celebration of love." "Love," Hank repeated softly, the word hanging in the air like a delicate balloon. But what if it's not enough? He didn't mean to voice his fears, but the thought pushed its way out before he could tame it. His mother's expression shifted, a moment of silence wrapping around them. "Sometimes, it's everything," she said. "Love is messy but magical. It's powerful enough to cover miles and lives." Derek's voice cut through the stillness. "It's like that saying, right? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. We might be far apart, but our hearts will always stay close." Hank considered this, his chest tight with unexpressed emotions. But distance also breeds loneliness. How do we avoid that? "To hold on to each other," Sarah insisted, to do just what Mom suggested: check in, text, call, Zoom. It might be hard at times, but it's about nurturing that connection. Something inside Hank clicked as he mulled over their words. They were right. Love was a dynamic force, one that could adapt, just like they had to. Just as the conversation pivoted back to the wedding details, Hank's phone buzzed again. An alert popped up, a message from his fiancée, inviting him to a small celebration later that week. His heart raced with a mix of excitement and dread. Did he have the strength to join in, to translate all this family love into his own life? Before he could answer, his mother's hand touched his. Remember, this is a journey for all of us. You'll find your place, Hank. The evening rolled on, laughter and love filling the diner. But as Hank looked around the table, he wondered what other challenges lay ahead. Was he truly ready for the shifts and turns the future promised? The air buzzed with anticipation, a prelude to storms he still sensed looming, a truth not yet surfaced, waiting for the right moment to unfold. What lay beyond this familial fortress? Hank's heart drummed louder as he sensed it might be the very key he hadn't yet discovered. The days leading up to the small celebration felt endless. Every tick of the clock echoed Hank's restless mind. He wandered through the halls of his thoughts, skimming over fears that had become too familiar. What would it be like to gather with his fiancée's family? Would they see him as they saw each other, whole, bright, full of potential? On the night of the gathering, Hank stood in front of the bathroom mirror, nervously adjusting his tie. He glanced at himself, searching for a spark of confidence in his reflection. His hands trembled slightly as he clutched the fabric, remembering his mother's words about love being a journey. He took a deep breath, reminded himself of the love waiting beyond the door, and stepped out. The house buzzed with laughter and chatter. As he walked in, the warm light illuminated a sea of friendly faces. Faint music floated in the background, creating a celebratory atmosphere that seemed to swallow his unease. He spotted his fiancée, Mira, across the room, her eyes lighting up as she made her way through the crowd. "Hey, you made it!" she exclaimed, wrapping her arms around him in a warm embrace. "Wouldn't he miss it for the world," Hank replied, forcing a smile. He wasn't sure who he was trying to convince more, her or himself. The night unfolded like a much-anticipated play. The clinking of glasses, the mingled aromas of delicious food, and the sight of smiling faces filled him with a strange blend of exhilaration and anxiety. Soon, conversation erupted around him. "We've got a game lined up," one of Mira's relatives shouted, drawing everyone's attention. Hank felt the electric energy sweep over him. As they settled down for the game, it became a hilarious contest of memories and stories. "Tell the story of your most embarrassing moment," someone shouted, laughter blending with the light clinking of utensils. It was the perfect chance to break the ice. Mira's cousin, a lively guy with curly hair and an infectious laugh, kicked it off by recounting a time he slipped and fallen while attempting to show off his skateboard skills. Laughter erupted, and a wave of warmth surged through Hank, breaking through his anxious shell. When it was his turn, he felt a knot tighten in his stomach. But he remembered his family, their laughter, their support. He dove into a tale about the time he accidentally melted a crayon into his mother's favorite casserole. It wasn't his proudest moment, but the image of his mother's bewildered expression brought a round of hearty laughter. Something shifted that night. Each story shared, each peal of laughter, began to wrap him in an unbreakable bond of acceptance. Hank noticed how Myra's family didn't just listen, they connected, really connecting through shared memories and vulnerability. Their laughter didn't feel forced, and neither did his. As the night wore on, he found himself in a corner with a group, exchanging banter and stories, feeling the stress of the week wash away. It was refreshing, exhilarating even. He started to see what it felt like to belong somewhere else, to include himself within this vibrant tapestry of love and support. Then, amid the laughter, Mira turned to him, her eyes reflecting warmth and something deeper. "I love how you just fit in." "I knew you would," she said softly. "Yeah?" he murmured, the sincerity of her words hitting him like a gentle wave. "Absolutely. You've brought so much into my life, Hank. Just being here tonight shows how strong you really are." Her words kindled embers of self-belief that he hadn't visited in a long time. He realized that strength wasn't about being the loudest or the most confident one in the room. It was about opening up, being raw, and allowing love to represent vulnerability. Just as he was about to respond, Derek arrived, wide-eyed, as if he carried the weight of an astonishing revelation. "You won't believe what just happened," he burst out, drawing every ear in the room. Hank's heart raced. What could possibly be coming next? Would this somehow lead to the deeper truths he felt simmering beneath the surface? As the crowd hushed, the air thick with curiosity, he braced himself, intrigued and anxious all at once. What truth was about to unfold that could change everything? The anticipation in the room swelled, every eye locked on Derek. The laughter faded into a tense silence, like a drawn bowstring waiting to release its arrow. Hank's heart drummed in his chest, wrestling to understand where this unexpected twist was leading. Derek cleared his throat, excitement shimmering in his eyes. "I just got off the phone with the company. They're offering me a position that's a step up, like a real promotion." Relief swept through Hank, but it was quickly followed by concern. This was wonderful news for Derek, sure, but it was a reminder of exactly what Hank feared, that Derek's world was still so distant from his own. A murmur of congratulations broke free from the group, and Hank found himself caught in a tide of shared excitement. Derek continued, "And get this, it's in a different city. I'll be moving in a few months." The words hit Hank like a punch. He had hoped for the bridge they began building at dinner, a way to connect their worlds. Now, the distance only felt larger. "Wow, that's amazing," Hank managed to say, his voice a whisper among the cheers. Genuine happiness for Derek struggled against the ache in his chest. Sarah, who had been listening quietly, leaned closer to Derek. "Are you sure about this? That's a big change." Derek nodded earnestly. "I know it sounds sudden, but this opportunity feels right. I want something that challenges me, something more fulfilling." His enthusiasm was contagious, igniting a flicker of hope in the air. "Then you should go for it." Sarah beamed, her pride shining through. The dynamic shift filled Hank with conflicting emotions. He wanted to echo their support, yet a sense of dread knotted in his stomach. Turning to Mira, Hank saw her reassuring smile, a quiet strength radiating from her. "You okay?" she asked softly, her voice anchoring him. Hank responded with a nod, though doubts swirled in his mind. As the night continued, Derek's announcement hung like a thread weaving through the veins of conversation, connecting the family in a new awareness. Hank observed the lively interactions, laughing alongside others, yet feeling an odd distance, as if a glass wall separated him from their jubilant reality. Through it all, a realization crept in. Maybe Derek's leap wasn't the threat he feared it would be. Maybe it was a chance for Hank to reshape his narrative. To move alongside the new waves of change, rather than feeling trapped by the tide. He turned to Mira and shared this thought, his tone steadier now. "Perhaps it's time for me to redefine my own journey. To embrace the risk." Mira slid her hand over his, confidence sparkling in her gaze. "Absolutely. Just like your family said, it's about being honest and vulnerable. Go after what you want." Fueled by courage, Hank stood up, summoning the attention of the gathering once again. "Hey everyone. As Derek's news sunk in, I realized that we're all on paths leading us beyond where we thought we'd stay. I may not have my next steps mapped out like some of you, but I'm ready to explore what that means for me. Let us celebrate not just Derek's new adventure, but our own journeys too." Cheers erupted again. This time, Hank felt his voice carry genuine weight, his vulnerability merging with hope. Derek grinned, a sound of disbelief mingling with pride. "To new beginnings, then. To new beginnings." The gathering echoed, drinks raised high in unison. As Hank absorbed the warmth, the questions that once weighed heavily now shifted to possibilities. The laughter and joy didn't dissolve in the absence of certainty, rather, they etched him along, giving him strength to forge ahead. Derek stepped forward and clinked his glass against Hank's, sincerity in his expression. "You've got a lot to share, Hank. Go for it." With each exchange of laughter and the heartfelt connection growing deeper between them, those feelings of doubt transformed into determination. A sense of excitement bubbling up within Hank, igniting that spark of possibility. The night rolled on, each moment filled with laughter, shared love, and joy, unfurling threads that connected them all. And as time slipped by, Hank felt a new kind of strength emerge from within, a reminder that love could build bridges, even in the midst of change. When the festivities came to a close, Hank lingered a moment longer, glancing around at the faces of both families. It struck him then that the challenges awaiting them weren't something to fear, they were opportunities waiting to be embraced. He drew in a deep breath, feeling the magnetic pull of the present. Whatever the next days would bring, Hank realized he was ready. Ready to trust in love. Ready to embrace change. Their bond, now woven tighter, sparkled with the promise of tomorrow. As he left Mira beside him, he felt the palpable warmth of hope wrapping around them like a comforting quilt, coaxing him toward the dawn of a new chapter. And in that moment, right there among family and friends, he knew he had found his hidden strength, bigger and brighter than he had ever imagined. Now, if you felt inspired by this transformation, don't wait any longer. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. And I want to hear from you. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.